Welcome to the Smart Weight Loss Coaching Podcast. I'm Dr. Lisa Olson, a board-certified weight loss medicine specialist and certified life coach. In this podcast, I'll share fresh insights and effective techniques for incorporating mindset, habit change, and proven science into your life. Are you ready to achieve sustainable weight loss, wellness, and longevity? Then let's jump in and lose weight the smart way. Welcome back. Comparison is the thief of joy when it comes to weight loss. Let me explain what I mean. At our local high school, there's a term for the majority of girls who are ever striving to look cool and fit in. They wear their hair the same. They all wear the same outfits and brands. They all wear the same makeup and carry the same bags. They're called Felicias. And by comparison, the boys who are carbon copies of one another are called Chads. I wasn't sure if this was a local phenomena or if this was a widespread meme understood by moms only long after it was passé among the kids. To learn more, I turned to the internet, where I got this Urban Dictionary definition of a Chad. The slang term Chad originated in Chicago as a pejorative term for a young upper-class urban male. In modern internet slang, the term generally refers to an alpha male. The local usage of Felicia is the female equivalent of Chad in this scenario. When I think of today's topic, which I call compare and despair, I think about the Felicias and the Chads and the kids who are desperately trying to fit in. Why do people so often compare themselves to others, try to conform, and then chastise themselves for not being good enough, smart enough, successful enough, and for our purposes, thin enough? I hear this kind of compare and despair talk fairly often from people who are struggling with their weight. It's not that they're trying to be a Felicia or Chad. It's rather that the Felicias and Chads are often thinner and fitter, and people feel disappointed, even inferior, when they make these comparisons. Comparison is the thief of joy, my friends. There's just no value in it. When I help people with weight loss, here are 3 common comparisons that often come up. Number 1, Felicia is just naturally thin and she barely works at it. I work so much harder than she does. It's just not fair. Number 2, Chad was obviously lucky in the genetic department. He's so muscular and has almost no body fat. Number 3, Felicia number 1 and my other friends, Felicias 2, 3, and 4, all go out to eat together every 3rd Friday. The Felicias all have margaritas and they have dessert and they have bread, and I can't. I just look at what they eat and drink and I gain weight. Let me stop you right there, smarties. What is that kind of thinking doing for you? If I were to think everyone else can eat dessert with impunity and not gain weight, but I take 1 bite and I gain a pound, I would feel frustrated, even angry or resentful. I might feel discouraged or defeated. And guess what we do when we feel angry or discouraged or defeated? We eat dessert. Naturally. That's human nature. At least that's what I would do. Most of us grew up with cultural norms that involved using food to soothe ourselves or to comfort one another. It's not that you're getting it wrong. It's that in today's environment, with our highly processed, ever-abundant, obesogenic food supply, using food to soothe ourselves is like being a stress smoker back in the 80s. It's going to catch up with us. And in this case, we feel the sting when we step on the scale. Think about that first statement. Felicia is naturally thin and she barely works at it. I work so much harder than she does. It's just not fair. You know what? That might be true. Maybe she doesn't work at it and it's not fair. That could be the case. There are certainly those people who are lucky to have naturally great metabolism or genes. And to that, I'd say I'm sorry. You're right. Life isn't fair. Examples of that abound. But there's always the chance that there's a backstory. Maybe Felicia is working hard on her weight in ways you don't see. Maybe she's up every day at 5:30 a.m. working out before she goes to work. Maybe she's doubling down on nutrition and preps healthy lunches that she brings with her. Maybe Felicia is struggling with an eating disorder or depression or ulcerative colitis, and she's losing weight because of a condition that's invisible to us. We have no idea. When someone else is thin, it doesn't always mean that they have everything figured out or that they're just lucky. Some amount of comparison is normal because humans are social creatures, and we use comparison to learn about social norms. If we're gentle in our comparisons, we can use them to help us improve our performance or increase our success. The research tells us that when we surround ourselves with people who have a healthy lifestyle, we're more likely to emulate their healthy habits. Again, if it's not done with judgment or resentment or self-recrimination, it may be motivating to see that healthy habits are achievable. On the more toxic end of the comparison spectrum is something called social comparison bias. This refers to the tendency to have feelings of competitiveness with someone, often in domains like attractiveness, wealth, intelligence, success, weight, or level of fitness. According to some studies, as much as 10% of our thoughts involve comparisons of some kind. Social comparison theory is the idea that individuals determine their own worth based on how they compare to others. Herein lies the problem for many of the women I work with who are unhappy about their weight. This habit of comparison takes its toll on our mental health, potentially leading to anxiety, depression, chronic stress, and as a result of that vicious cycle, we might see more weight gain. Negative thoughts about our bodies and self-criticism contribute to feelings of inadequacy and low self-worth. The answer is not to become a Felicia or a Chad. Listen, the Felicias and Chads have their own challenges. Stop assuming their lives are perfect. We all experience trauma in our lives at some point, and being thin or fit or fashionable doesn't protect us against the hardships of life. You don't need to change who you are or become a carbon copy of someone else. You're enough, just as you are today. What we want to do is use comparison in a healthier way, not in a shaming or defeating manner. When you think, it's so easy for her to be skinny, I'll never be able to look like that, you're inviting defeat before you even try to work on weight loss. Instead, you might soften that comparison and ask yourself, I wonder what it would take to make weight loss possible for me. Or if you come up short when you compare yourself to a colleague who's a runner, you might ask, what would it take for me to become a runner? How could I get started? Or what would it take for me to become someone who takes a brisk walk every morning before work? These softer comparisons are a kinder way to approach anything we want to achieve. So if you're creating your own feelings of inadequacy with social comparison bias, how can you stop that long-standing habit? Step 1 is to raise your awareness. Catch yourself when you compare and despair. Notice how it's making you feel. Is that serving you or defeating you and making you give up before you have a chance to make any progress? Step 2 is to practice some thought interrupting. Once you're aware and you start to catch your comparisons, simply interrupt them. I like to think of this as a mom thing, the way I think of interrupting siblings who are bickering. Whoa, 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 what's going on here? That doesn't sound very nice. Felicia, would you like to reframe that? Which brings me to step number 3. Step 3 is to get curious. Is there another way to think about this? Instead of thinking, Felicia was just born gorgeous, thin, and flexible. I'll never be good at yoga like she is. You can ask yourself, forget about Felicia. How could I get good at yoga? Step 4, focus on your own strengths. For example, in a yoga class I recently joined, I'm definitely one of the least flexible people there. It appears that everyone's been doing yoga since birth. They're all good at it, and they all seem to anticipate the instructions, flowing seamlessly through the movements. But it turns out that I do have one superpower in that class. I can hold myself up in an air squat on my tippy toes for a pretty long time. I can get lower than most of the women in the class, too. How did I develop this superpower for holding a squat position in the air? I know exactly. It's because I do squats in the air for 2 minutes every time I brush my teeth. So rather than compare and despair, I revel in my superpower. For every time I poke a little gentle fun at my lack of flexibility in yoga class, I also celebrate the fact that I've got one exercise in that hour-long class that I can crush. Yay for me. Step 5, allow imperfection. In fact, celebrate that. I've come a long way from the perfectionist younger me. I can laugh at myself and appreciate myself for trying things that are hard, even when I don't succeed. In yoga class, there's no compare and despair in my brain. If I don't always embrace my imperfections, at least I've made peace with them. I don't avoid doing things just because I can't do them perfectly. Step 6, love yourself today. You don't need to be a Chad or Felicia to be worthy of love, happiness, and good health. We're all born worthy, and our worth as a human being is not diminished because we're imperfect. Your worthiness is not different if you're 20 pounds, 50 pounds, or even 100 pounds overweight. It just isn't. You deserve love. It's time to let go of comparison, the thief of joy, and know that your value in this world is infinite because of your unique abilities, talents, and ideas. Now that we're all in a love fest with ourselves, it's time to think about our NBA, our next best action. What are you working on this week? Hopefully, if you find yourself in compare and despair, you're going to raise your awareness, interrupt those thoughts, and begin to speak to yourself with the same kindness that you'd use when speaking with a dear friend. Hey, one quick thing before you go. Don't forget to hop over to smartweightlosscoaching.com if you'd like to grab the early bird discount for our 2024 Women's Wellness Retreat. Thanks so much for listening. If you'd like more support during your smart weight loss journey, check out our group coaching program at smartweightlosscoaching.com. Until next time, stay well and stay smart.